All right, welcome to the fourth episode of the Humanity in Flow podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, Dayanara Thompson. And we thought today we would talk a little bit about being in a place to make grounded decisions and not coming from a kind of reactive place when something happens and you have to make a decision suddenly and where do those decisions come from with so much going on in the world. It's challenging for us right now to always be in that place. So we thought we would chat a little bit about that today. Day, how are you doing?
I'm good. I finally took a much needed break, and just took some time to reset. So I'm actually really excited for this conversation because I feel like I have a good spectrum of being fully grounded and fully unrooted when it comes into the decision-making process and being busy in life and then making time to take some grounded decision making. But also too, how have you been? How's life for you?
Things are good, yeah, but there's a lot going on at all times, and
Yes.
so I think it's, yeah, it's a I think a constant shift and struggle to kind of maintain, being in that place. And I'll notice myself like getting an email and reacting to it right away and then realizing, oh wait, I don't really have to, I could take some more time here or take a little it's not actually immediately that important, but I definitely feel myself in this kind of hyper aware state all the time where that I'm like, not as with so much going on, I'm not as in as much of a grounded place as I would like to be all the time.
And I think also too, just being in LA just the last few weeks, it's been hard to be grounded. We
Yeah,
came
well, I
into
guess the last few months now, right? As well.
yeah.
And I know for you, like coming up, the last conversation we had was around a lot of the relief work that you did after the LA fires. And I'm sure that there was a lot of processing going on, with what you were doing there. Because I know in the moment it was a lot of go, 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 and I need to be there. I need to help. I need to do this. But then I'm sure there's a lot of like a time afterwards where you need to process all of what happened.
Process, try to find out better ways to streamline things. And then also too, for myself, I just started a new part-time job and then also too at the clinic full-time. So just finding that balance in
Yeah, there's so
the
much,
midst of the
right?
chaos.
Yeah, and then I'm always balancing with work and kids and trying to kind of
And your million and one projects and your encyclopedia.
always, yes, a million and one projects.
That's the
That's
story
like
of our
it gets through
lives.
every day. Every day there's a new project that starts, and that's great. It's like exciting and interesting. So trying to this, it's one of my goals actually for this rest of this month and then the next month is to really uh get a hold since there are so many interesting and exciting things happening at all times, it seems, to kind of get a hold
That's
of those projects and make sure that they're on track for deadlines and
So how do you really come to a place where you make grounded decisions? Just being your friend whenever I'm like in a dilemma, I'm like, I need to go ask Liz. She always gives the best advice. Always like you have such a grounded and solid view on things. And then I love how you also just kind of view things from so many different angles where it's like this could be the outcome for here. But I feel like when it comes to your decision making, even though you're always in a place where you have so much things going on because you're so multifaceted and so talented but you still remain so gracious in your decision making and your process. Like, how did you get there?
that's a good question. I don't feel there all the time, but I do think that I have a lot of perspective, and that is, comes from a lot of the different things that I have done in my life. It comes from, when I was in my early 20s, I was like an athletic trainer and a massage therapist, and was working with people in very different ways than I often do these days. But like just kind of understanding and seeing where people are coming from in those moments, I think is how I stay grounded and then I generally can help give, advice in various situations. And then for myself, there's always the struggle, right? Of like, am I staying as grounded with my own decisions in those times? But yeah, I think it's just the kind of, yeah, I think that the two of us are fairly empathetic beings as well, and just sort of trying to understand and put myself into the situation that whoever I'm talking to is in, and kind of fully understanding their situation to then be able to navigate and give advice on where that where it may be helpful. And I think then now professionally, that is a skill that comes in very handy as I, sort of navigating various avenues, whether legal or technological, and trying to figure out, what the next best steps are for people in certain situations when there is this real kind of coalescing of issues coming together often, especially when we're talking about the sort of bigger changes that are happening in society right now, where you have people having their own internal struggles and then their own business or legal problems going on at the same time, and sort of separating out where those are each an issue, and how to tackle them all holistically, I think is a challenge for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, and especially too, like you said, legal problems and personal problems. What do we do when we have problems in different sectors of our life all at once? Because sometimes it's like work life will be going great, but then home life there might be something going on, or then there might be like a legal issue going on and everything else is good, or it might just all when it rains it pours and it just might be every aspect of life. So what's some advice that you could give somebody who might be going through just kind of that overwhelm? How can you kind of shift from that overwhelm into that grounded place?
Well, and I think this kind of, this one certainly goes across both of our disciplines, I think,
Yeah.
of how to do that, because I think it's a really delicate balance, because you can't just like drop one part of your life entirely to work on the other. But then at the same time, you have these real issues that are coming up and they often affect each other, right? So, I mean, everybody's had a situation with a boss or a coworker or somebody that you're doing a project with where like you could tell that they're not entirely there.
There.
They have something
Yeah.
else going on, right? Whether that's something legal or it's a family issue or something going on or just a personal struggle or whatever it is. There has to be some separation there to figure out where the actual issues lie, so that there isn't like kind of this collateral damage of these issues kind of bleeding into each other, or sort of the transference term, right? That you're bringing in those issues into business decisions or even family, or you're bringing, business drama into your family decisions. And then you're kind of creating this situation where you're reacting all the time and not making, you're not like figuring out what decisions will be best long term for whatever area of life that you're focusing on at the time.
No, that's so true. And I think also too having that grounded balance perspective, but also having a really structured self-care routine. So then that way, when you are going through those difficult times, you also are pouring back into yourself. Because I think a lot of times when we go through that difficult time, we start to kind of disassociate. And as we disassociate, most of the times we don't even realize we're doing it. We're just not taking care of ourselves and we're just kind of I feel like we just kind of become like this punching bag to life where it's like, okay, let's take on this, let's take on this, let's take on this. But it's like, when are we going to take ourselves off that punching bag and actually just pour into ourselves? And I think that's what really separates us. Not separates us, but separates us from that chaos, I would say.
Yeah, and that's so hard to do a lot of the time, right? Because like the most scarce resource is time, right? For a lot of us, where we don't have the ability to step back and take time for ourselves and just process things, and or we are forced to when we get sick, or we're forced to do it when something happens where we have to step back from the chaos of our lives. And I think that I think trying to prioritize some of that time. I know for myself when like if kids are sick or something is happening and I don't have the time to kind of step back and evaluate and just have that self-care time, I don't have the same buffer that I have normally. I'm not able to make decisions in the same way that I could before, and so it's really really important to take that time and then to have a center, right? So a lot of people are so mixed up in their chaotic lives that they don't even know what that like sort of centered, grounded feeling is, and that's a problem. And I think that we see that a lot in kind of geopolitical issues and world, kind of like issues going on all around us, that a lot of people don't have that kind of centered space to go to, or haven't seen it in so long that they don't
You
even
don't
recognize
recognize
how
it,
far
yeah.
away they are from it. Yeah.
And I think also too, just really scheduling it in a daily basis. And that's the thing is self-care could be so different. It might just be reading, it might be taking a second to just breathe, it could be exercising, it could be taking a bath. It's just a way for you to go back and connect with yourself. because when you're in fully in yourself, you're going to be making better decisions for yourself and those around you. And I think also too, what like popped into my head when we were talking about this was procrastination. And I think procrastination could be another hindrance in your decision making, because when we become overwhelmed or stressed, we'll prolong our decision making, which then can also have its own effects of itself. So I think also too, making sure that we're not procrastinating. And that really comes down to sometimes you just have to take a whole day just to yourself to just really get grounded, get with yourself, not focus on work. I'm really big in taking a day of Sabbath every week. Just unfortunately, the last few months, it's been a half day, not a full day. But and I can tell the big difference between a half day versus a full day. But it's just really, really important just to kind of take that time. Because during that time, I don't do anything. I just really take time to just clear my mind, reflect, think about my past decision making. And a lot of coaches will say those that don't reflect are uncoachable. So I think that's like another thing too, is taking that time to reflect and also to just don't beat yourself up when you make a decision. Make your decision, move forward, and just allow life to play out. And if it wasn't the right decision, guess what? Life has a really funny way of turning back and creating a decision. And I think our decision making a lot of the times is out of our control. I really do think we only just kind of control our emotional responses and reactions to things. Um, but life is going to life how it needs to. So I think sometimes we put too much pressure on our decisions, which can prolong our decision making or allow us to make really rash decisions. And it's funny, coming into this new decade of 30, I've noticed that in my 20s, I was very, very emotional and very reactive in my decision making. And now, as I get older and own a business, I cannot be emotional or reactive in my decision making. And a lot of things really aren't in my control. But I don't think I noticed that until I took a step back myself to rest, reset. Because when I first opened the clinic, I put so much pressure on myself of one, I have to succeed. I have employees. I have to do this. And then I didn't have enough time. And then I was trying to build Rome in a day. So a lot of the decision makings that was making at the beginning of opening my business were very rushed and very fast. And now being a year out, I'm actually able to reflect back and recalculate my decision making and see, okay, I really fell short here, or this decision worked out well, or this one didn't. And just noticing how that kind of comes to play to where I'm at now and just took this weekend off was really, really nice. Totally didn't plan it. So definitely plan your decisions, especially if you have to cancel patients. But I needed it. I know I needed it. I got to that point where I was like, okay, it's time for me to rest and reset. And just taking that time off, I was able to really reflect back on my decision making. So then that way I can make some more grounded and solid decisions moving forward. And I think sometimes you have to have that radical honesty with yourself of when you've reached that point of being close to burnout, being at burnout, or at the point where you can't trust your decision making because you're either too tired, too exhausted, or you just have interference with different things going on. For example, if you have something personal going on and you need to make a business decision, but emotionally you're just unavailable, maybe take a break, take a step back, or seek counsel to see what a good decision would be for that. But I think that's what this time has definitely taught me. I just need to step back to just let everything play out,
Yeah.
and then come in and make decisions. So yeah, that's been me for this week. But I'll be honest, I have not always made decisions from grounded places. I'll be there.
Yeah, and I think that there's a couple of things that you said kind of resonate with me. One is the procrastination point because that's something that I've been really working on the last couple of years is that like, there's things that will sit on my to-do list forever and those things really hinder me from doing other things. And that like not procrastinating. And then often those things that sit on the to-do list, they like are easy to check off, actually. They're easy to kind of clear. And so just not having things sit there that can easily be taken care of is something that I've noticed as kind of a like, sort of a block that I had that I'm working through of trying to make sure that those are there and then that those are taken care of so I can move on to other things. And then the other point about like kind of as you get older, recognizing like I think for me, not making reactive decisions has gotten easier as I've gotten older, right? You said in your 20s, it's was a very
Oh,
like reactive decade for you.
so
Um, And I think that that's an important point too. And I don't think that it has to kind of come with age, but there is certainly an amount of experience, right, and life events that come that make you hopefully you can reflect a little bit more. That's something that I have noticed as well, is the ability to pray, and then you have certain priorities, right? So you've got your business, you've got like certain things that you feel like if you react in a certain way, and we all know people that are in business and react in, quick or fast ways. But if you are in your business, you don't want to react that way because that's not the image that you want to portray. It's not what you want for your employees. It's not what you want as your image as a businesswoman. And then, for me in business and with like kids, I try to not overreact with them in various ways to make sure that I'm, not scarring them in some way, I guess, going forward, or like that there's that you're like kind of level headed with them, I think is really important for their development. And so, yeah, I think that like it's a challenge and a constantly evolving goal to have this place. But I think if it's a goal that you have, that there is, when you're making a decision, you're going to come back to this place where you feel grounded and you feel ready to make that decision. Uh, that inevitably there'll be some aspects of your life that will come together a little bit smoother, or you won't feel as though you're just kind of being dragged and pulled by life and that things are happening in a way that is outside of your control entirely. So it's a super interesting conversation, and I'm really glad that we were able to get together today and talk about it.
No, me too, because these topics are so important. I think also to just learning how to extend grace to yourself, just because you're not always going to have it figured out. You're not always going to know, but just knowing you're doing the best that you can where you're at, and that's all that really matters, is just like a huge thing. And I think also to breaking it down and creating that space for people to be able to hear these things are just so important. So I'm really grateful for our time this morning, for us being able to sit down and then also too for me to hold myself accountable moving forward. And just yeah, I'm just really excited and really grateful.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's really important to talk about these things because I don't think it's something that many people actively think about or talk about. And so I'm very, very glad that we were able to have this conversation today.
Wow, episode 4 in the books. Let's
Yeah.
go, guys.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See ya.